Minecraft, Steve, and the hero's journey. Okay, what is the hero's journey? Let's run through it real quick. Ben, help me through. Essentially, there's a village with villagers, a hero, Steve, that has to go into some chaos, the Nether, and bring something back to save the villagers, right?
Yeah. Blaze rods.
It's a basic study of how order and chaos interact and how you need to use things, take things from chaos in order to make order survive.
So I thought of two things for this. One, what is the hero? What chooses the hero? He is the chosen one. Why? I have a theory that the villagers aren't aware of some fault in their collective unconscious society. They're not consciously aware of it, but they are unconsciously aware of some fault of it. Their unconscious will be aware of it because their conscious is weaker. And they're very conscious people, so they're not privy to it. Villagers are. Like, look at our neighbors. They're not as unconscious as we are. So what do? They dream. They have a dream of some archetypical force which solves this, which goes out into chaos and finds the elixir to revive their order.
Yeah, that's
Steve
fair.
is the villager's dream. They dream this archetypical chosen one, and then because the unconscious and the universe are clearly connected, that man is born.
Yeah, this is true. It's been said, like, in Jungian philosophy, again, it's been said that in the collective unconscious, ideas are often generated collectively before they pop out in the guise of, like, those intelligent enough to parse them out or those brave enough to put them into action, which is the hero, right?
Yeah,
but, like,
Johnny.
and sometimes it's huge. Like, what Jung said about Hitler is that he thought Hitler was, like, not a man. He was just entirely possessed by this idea.
The Germans' anger.
Idea that the Germans wanted.
sich für ihr einzufinden begann. Heute Musterung halten und abstoßen, was sich als schlecht erwiesen hat. Und deshalb...
Holy shit,
Yeah.
he was
Two
literally
ideas.
possessed.
Two ideas. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So
Even
here's
though you
another
could-
thing about the hero's journey, Ben. The village, the chaos is, let's say, the woods, right?
Yeah.
Generally, can the village see the woods? Do they have an understanding of that? Are the villagers privy to this? Or is it sort of strange? It's usually strange and they don't know of it,
They're
right?
just
You
scared
know,
of
it
it.
varies enough in stories.
No, they're scared of it.
They're always scared of it.
Okay, they're always... Do they really... Are they usually... It's strange and they don't have an understanding of it usually?
Well, yeah, they don't have an understanding of it. It totally varies from story to
Okay.
story, whether it's something they just know about or something that's secret.
I have a note.
Oh, hold on.
That's it.
Okay, so here's the thing. If the villagers can't see it, let's say the woods are strange to them. There's something, the hero tells them of something in the woods they can't see because it's blocked by the tree line, right?
Yep.
And the villagers don't believe him. The existence of that something is proven by the elixir returning to the village. The elixir returning to the village proves the chaos true. It is like this song that I heard at Menards one time that the lyric was, it's a shitty song, but the lyric was crazy. I believe the lyric was, "If our love is fantasy, then why are you my remedy?" So I was thinking that it was like a chick who sold her soul to the devil to get a music album, and satanic sex is the love, and the remedy is the fact that she got rich. So if this isn't real, then how is it actually affecting our
Yeah,
plan?
that's true. Holy shit, you're right. No.
So, like, if there is no chaos, if there is nothing on the other side of the woods, then why did the elixir save my village?
Okay, I have something important to
Yeah,
say.
that's
Why
a
the
fair
elixir
point.
save the village?
Yeah.
Here's something important. In the village fantasy, which I have a now fucking perfect understanding of this journey suddenly.
Subconscious communication.
Yeah, no, I
While
get it
we're
now.
talking
You
about
like
it.
awokened my understanding of this, dude.
It's
That's
faith.
nuts.
Yeah, it's like you go to moon.
It's like when you're 7 years old. If you fucking are trying to fucking dunk a basketball, you're not going to.
Yeah, and this is in human nature. Kids play in the woods. They try and go farther and farther. Like, if you go in the dark, like, everyone played that game as kids in the dark where you try and touch something farther and farther in the dark. It's like, it's so integral to human nature.
Yeah, and it's like man's got to know his limitations too. Every person is not that adventurer, but guess what? If you got to step up, you got to step up.
Oh, I was tripping when I think about Hawaiian kids in, like, in ancient time trying to swim farther, but there were sharks the farther you go, but they still wanted to swim farther and farther as the kids ate. The bigger kids would be, like, think about a pool. The big kids go to the deep end.
Yeah.
That's how it works, is you adventure out.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, a man's got to know his limitations.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. I have to go back to the elixir thing. That if it's not real, if it's fantasy, it's proven by the elixir, right? I was watching this nature documentary about mushrooms. And this dude who was on Rogan, and he seems like a cool old hippie dude. He used to be a logger. Which is cool. He was a hippie logger, yeah.
It's a weird combination.
Well, as you're logging, you can just pick mushrooms.
I guess.
Yeah. It's a great... And you make bank, so you're chilling. It's a good-ass job, to be honest. Until you lose your fingers and can't play guitar anymore, so... But he told this story of...
Personal application.
He did, like, a ton of mushrooms, because it was the first time he'd ever done them, and he did a handful, which is retarded. And he climbed up to the top of a tree in a thunderstorm and hugged it through the whole thunderstorm. Okay? And while the tree was almost getting knocked over by the wind and lightning was flashing around him, and he was in total chaos. It's a great God made chaos around him to represent the actual chaos going in his head. Yeah. He experienced something which he could not bring back to the real world. He couldn't explain it because it was too beyond him. All he could say is that there was this continual message of, he had a stutter, like a really big, he couldn't talk. I have to fix my stutter, I have to fix my stutter, how am I going to fix my stutter, how am I going to fix my stutter? When he came out of it, he could talk, and he can talk great on the nature documentary, and when he was on Rogan. He fixed his stutter in that. And it's because if the rule that Rogan talks about, that when you do DMT, it's like the experiences you have are so grand you can't explain them with earthly words. And this is true in the Bible, saying earthly words can't explain God and stuff like that. He experienced something going into his own neurology or something so complex we can't understand yet that he could only re-explain with, I have to fix my stutter, because that's the level of capacity we can explain these crazy, unbelievable experiences. The elixir proves that this chaos happened to him because the elixir, he did actually fix his stutter. So that's another example of that. That's freaky. Going back to the idea that there's unarticulated knowledge that we don't understand yet, but it's still interesting to us. Plato said that art and things we stare at that are pretty whisper truths to us, right? This is why art, some people don't get art, some people get art. It's, can you think on that odd level?
I agree with that.
Sure.
If that's true, the universal form of a fractal, lightning, a tree growing, ice cracking, neurons firing, root systems of mushrooms and tree roots underneath the ground, or a snowflake.
Put a bunch of stock images.
That's a nuts thing.
Or a snowflake. The universal form of that is important somehow. That's all we can say. Right? It's a fractal.
I see why you married her. Damn, he's hot that night, eh? Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's a fractal. It's everything. I think it's maybe how knowledge moves, that you can continually go down like roads, like a dirt road. Like, think about the pioneers moving over. They kept making left and right turns that fractal and yeah, I know. Western Manifest Destiny expand over.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that's how knowledge.
And then a man's got to know his limitations, because you have to have parameters to fucking say, okay, this is a thing.
Oh, sorry.
You have to have a thing that says this is a thing. You know, you have to know. You have to have parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't just get lost in finding knowledge. You have to find a parameter.
Map it out or you'll
you have
get
to
lost.
live You have to live on Earth.
Yeah.
You have to live on Earth.
How to succeed. What level do you push yourself to? The best way I can explain it is amp breakup. 10 is cranked. You're full. Push it to 11.5.
Yeah.
Push it to the absolute exact possible second of failure. The Wright brothers flying a plane. 1 inch of their nose up or down and they crash. A car drifting, the most badass drifting crazy Jap dude, right?
Yeah.
1 wrong turn, he's dead. The difference between him and a regular drifter is near death. Jimi Hendrix almost blew up his amp every time he played. The sound of rock and roll was born of guitar breakup. It was born of cranking an amp past its capacity without blowing up the amp. And that created the greatest sound in the last 150 years. Okay? You have to push yourself to 10 and a half.
No, I agree.
This metaphor of amp breakup is how you try things. This is the difference between Christian McCaffrey and CJ2K. There's a reason McCaffrey's better. He just worked a little bit hard. What do you think
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's why I said a man's got to know his limitations. I think that's the same applicable lesson. I think you have to know your limitations. You have to push yourself past your success zone to understand your limitation. You have to be like, I can do this, and then you have to see what it's like to do too much, and then you'll be like, okay, I can't do this, and then you have to come back to what you can do, and you have to live in that.
What do you think?
I think the common conception in modern psychology is something called flow state, which is kind of like this, but it's a little bit less intense.
Okay.
Flow state generally holds, the general concept is you should do as much as you can do without failing, basically, which is like...
That's wrong, though. You have to fail. You have to do too much and then realize...
Right,
No.
As much as you can do without collapsing might be a better word.
that's
You're
fair.
getting distracted.
It's that people have a capability to do things.
You could be right.
And you could
Don't
say...
let your amp blow up.
And
what
that,
he's saying.
and that you could... And then,
Okay.
you could... Is that you have, a certain capacity to do things. And you reach flow state when you're maximally using your capacity that you have.
It's like Jimmy Page. His whole thing is he was kind of always on
And that's
heroin. But he
actualization.
would every time he played, he wasn't he was fast fingers, whatever. But he would always put himself to the absolute exact his skill level was lower than a lot of people around him. But he would push himself to the absolute exact breaking point of his own ability to play guitar every time he played guitar. Every freaking time, which is crazy, and that's what pushed him beyond people whose skill gap was higher than him.
But here's the catch: with flow state, you have to be staying in a stable way where you're not going to burn out.
Yeah, Conor McGregor, he burned out eventually.
Yeah, you have to you can't just burn out. You have to practice
learn how to
essentially a
try.
psychological medium where you're doing.
Society teaches you not to
Here's the thing: you might say if you're not trying hard enough, you'll start to think about things that aren't related to it. If you're not trying hard enough, you'll start to think about existential things and stuff like that.
You have to try at stuff, but you have to pick something worth trying at.
Yeah,
That goes
it's not
back
even
to
just
the pick
worth.
of the correct arrowhead thing.
Yeah, you have to fucking find something to try at, but it's hard.
It'd be stupid
it
to
has
make an
to-
arrowhead out of a pebble.
It has to be actualization. You can't just if it's not proper actualization, it won't work. It's if you don't interact with society in the way that best utilizes your identity will wander around when you're trying to do things.